and welcome to Hello Neighbor. I'm Wendy Blom, the host and also Executive Director of LTC, and I'm so pleased today to have Annie Vong, who is our very interesting neighbor, to say hello to today. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Great.
And share my story.
Wonderful. So Annie, tell us about your background a little bit. I know that your parents were victims of the Cambodian genocide,
yes,
and you came over as an infant. Tell us about that.
Okay, so like you said, my family escaped the war in Cambodia during the Khmer Rouge regime, and they went to Thailand. And I was born at a refugee camp in Thailand, and about 2 months later or so, we got sponsored and came to the U.S.
Who was the sponsor?
It was a wonderful Portuguese-American family, the Souzas, in the South Shore.
Oh.
Yeah.
So tell us about how your parents got caught up in the war. Where were they and what happened?
So my parents were from two different villages. I'm not sure how far they were apart from each other, but they got married during the Khmer Rouge, I believe, time. And my father, I think he heard, you're hearing a lot of speculations during that time. You don't know what to believe, you don't know who to believe. So I think he heard from someone that they need to leave the country or it's going to get worse. And so my dad told my mom, okay, we're gonna have to go through the night, take what we only can carry with us. She wasn't pregnant at the time yet, and we need to go. And then she didn't want to leave her family behind. Then my dad said, okay, let's ask if they want to come. Most of them didn't want to leave other family members, and so they took off through the night, through the day, and through jungle, through thick forest and everything, and with I think a few other people, not family members though. Mm-hmm. And then they made it to Thailand.
Across the border?
They crossed the border, yeah.
So it was because of the abject poverty of the countryside at that time?
Yes.
That they knew they had to leave?
Yep.
And how long were they in Thailand?
For about 2 years. My older sister was born in 1980 in the camp too, and then I was born a year later. Yep. Yeah, I think so. My father, he was a soldier, but before that, way before the Khmer Rouge, and I think because he was trained with that sort of intelligence to observe things, to listen, to try to make good decisions on whether you should flee the country at some point or not, and I think that's where my mom said that his skill and his observance and everything came from, to leave. Like he said, we have to leave. There is nowhere we're staying. Like we have to leave and go to America or wherever else.
And what happened to the people in the village?
A lot of them did get taken away by the Khmer Rouge. A lot of them stayed there or moved to a different village, and they went back later on.
Okay, so you do still have some family there?
We do. We have a lot of family members. We haven't been back to Cambodia. My mom hasn't been back yet, but we do communicate now through FaceTime.
That's great.
Yeah.
So do you speak Khmer?
I'm not fluent. It is one thing I regret not learning more, but I can get by, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. So so you grew up here in America,
Yes.
in Lowell?
Yes. So we first got sponsored to the South Shore, and not too long after that, in '81, so probably '82 now, my family moved to Revere because there were more Cambodians settling there. And then again, my dad heard there was job opportunities in Lowell, and so then we moved down to Lowell. So I think we lived here since '83 or '84.
It's a long time.
A very long time,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, and where did you go to school, and what was your degree, and what kind of path did you take?
Okay, so we lived in the Highlands my whole life, and we're still in the Highlands now. After I graduated from Lowell High in 1999, I went to UMass Boston. But I didn't know what I wanted to do. I think most of my friends knew they wanted to become engineers, people working in the tech company, things like that. I had no idea. I didn't know what my skill set was. I didn't know what path I should take. And so I went to UMass Boston, and then the commute alone was 2 hours each way, so 4 hours a day. And of course, you get there, you get tempted by just the city life. And so I got a taste of the city life, and then I thought, well, what am I doing in school? I wasn't learning things that I was passionate about learning. And so about a year later, the decision was made to drop out of college and just start working. And then I took that path. And I remember talking to my mom, and she said, well, you have to choose either path, either get an education or work. But whichever you choose, you have to do the best at it and be happy with doing it. And so I chose the career life. And that was since, I think, probably 2000. I was probably 18 or 19 years old.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any regrets about that decision, or do you like what you've been doing?
So I try not to do things I regret. But obviously, not learning more Khmer is one of them, or learning how to read and write. I think because I chose this path, I can always decide to go back to school one day. And so I don't think I regret it. I think that everything kind of happened how it should. And after 5 years of owning humanity, I went back to Middlesex this semester to take a business course. And then I learned. So I kind of learned backwards. I got the retail experience just from working, but then now I have the business background education.
That's great.
Yeah,
we don't all have to follow the same path.
Right, I agree. And I struggled with that for so long, probably my whole life, because I kept thinking, why am I so different from my friends? Why don't I have this education or go to like a 9-to-5 job where I'm making money? No, here I am. I feel like I've just been wandering the earth, you know? Yeah. But that was the path I took, and that was like the road I was supposed to take to get here.
Yeah. Well, you can't second guess because you're always making decisions in the moment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And whatever decision you make, it leads you to the next,
yes.
to the next, yeah.
So did the experience of your parents and the Cambodian genocide affect how you are as an American now? And what was your experience coming from Cambodia?
So it definitely did, because, you know, again, growing up, it was hard to identify myself. How did I identify myself? Was I Cambodian? Was I American? To a lot of Cambodians, I wasn't Khmer enough. To the Americans, I just wasn't American, of course. And, you know, my dad's decision to escape Cambodia into Thailand and wanting to live he specifically said to my mom, we're going to America because, you know, that's where you can live out your American dream. And so we came here, and my dad worked really hard. He worked at companies. My mom, at that time in 1981, she still didn't speak English. And she was learning, but my dad, he learned English, I think, during the camp in Thailand. And so coming to the US, he's already knowing a few words, and he's a little more fluent than my mom. And then a few years later, we moved to Lowell. I was 3 years old, I was turning 4, and my dad had gone to a party with his friend, I think in Revere, somewhere in that area, Medford, Revere, and you know, an unfortunate tragedy happened. He was beaten to a coma from 2 other men in another car. I think it was maybe road rage that had to do with the reason why he was beaten. But he was beaten to a coma for, I think, 10, 12 days and lost his life.
Was it racially motivated?
It was racially motivated. It was never been able to proven because the only other man there was my father's friend, and he didn't really speak English well or understood. And
so did they catch the people?
They did. During that time, there was a lot of racism towards Cambodians and Vietnamese and Laotians, the Southeast Asians coming here. And you know, people such as Governor Dukakis at that time, he rallied around that in trying to help the new immigrants coming in, the new refugees coming in. There were people from Asian American organizations trying to help rally around that too with my father's case. And you know, if you can imagine, my mom, we were only here for about 4 years, and to escape a genocide and then to come here and losing his life, and you know, his American dream cut really short. And during that time, my mom still hardly spoke English. She didn't drive. She depended a lot on my dad, and it was my sister and I. We were 4 at the time. I just turned 4 then. So 4 and 5 years old, 2 little girls in a brand new country. Most of her family wasn't here. She had her nephew was here, but you know, like most of her family wasn't here. And so it from that day on, my mom took it upon herself to do whatever it took to raise us, to know that, to make sure that we have a very successful, happy life. And growing up, I saw that. You know, I never really saw her cry. I'm sure she cried, but because she worked so hard, and that's what inspires me today. When I think I have a bad day, I look back to my mom and other people. But I look back to my mom and I think, as far as I remember growing up, she's never complained to me. Because I think as a mother, a single parent, she's like, I need to do this. Whatever it takes, I need to ensure that my kids have a roof over their head and they're eating and everything. And I can't imagine what she went through. And when I think about it, I get, you know, it's sad. I think it's very sad to lose like her partner, the love of her life at a very young age, and to raise 2 little girls in a brand new country, a country where my dad wanted to come take us to live the American dream. And so this is what fuels me and to continue this, you know, this American dream, or just to live a life where they both can be proud of me. You know, because my dad wasn't able to continue on with what he wanted, and so.
Oh, what a horrible, sad story,
Yeah.
and I can see where you get your determination. Your mother must have been so strong.
Very strong, and she's still strong now. You know, there are days where I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not making money, what do I do? And then, you know, that's when I sit and I said, okay, solutions, think of solutions, what can I do? And then I think again, I'm like, okay, deep breath. It is not the end of the world. My mom had it way worse than I have. You know, she guaranteed that I did not see any of that or felt all this pain. So I can do this.
Yeah.
And you know, it's not the end of the world.
Well, and just to kind of take that a little further, so growing up here, did you experience discrimination and hatred here in Lowell?
I did. And it did affect how I saw myself. Sometimes I hated myself because I'm thinking, am I what they say I am? You know, but again, because I had a really strong mom, I was like, no, that's not me. You know, just they don't know anything about you. Just keep on going. You know, I've heard a lot of really nasty racial slurs, and but I think that I wasn't physically harmed, but you know, for the rest of my life, I will never know my father. So.
And how did you develop an affinity for the fashion industry and your sense of style? How did that all come about?
Growing up, we had family in the Bay Area in Oakland, and so every summer my mom would send me and my sister to stay with our family, and then that started my vision of seeing different things, different people, different culture, different styles, and then I took what I saw and I would bring it back and say, oh, I saw this really cute outfit from this girl that's walking the street. Let me see if I can replicate that and create into my own style.
Wow, so you actually create your own patterns and sew your fashions?
I don't design. I don't do any designing. I just curate and order all the clothes and buy the clothes.
Okay.
Yeah. I was just sewing for fun. It wasn't like I want to put things together or create an outfit. Yeah, like that. Yeah. If I see clothes on a hanger somewhere, I can automatically be like, okay, this should be put with these pants, with these shoes, with this accessory.
Wow, that's great. So how did you come to buy Humanity?
So I worked for Frankie Dakota. She was the founder of Humanity since 2012. And during that time, I hit a crossroads. I just got laid off by another job that I've been there forever. And again, still wandering again and thinking, okay, what is the next step? What am I going to do? How am I going to be financially stable? But then also knowing that I just still loved fashion and I loved meeting people. I loved being a part of something, such as a community. And I remember my first interview with Frankie. She had said to me, you know, I'm looking for a partner or a potential someone to buy the store. And I think you're it. And I laughed at her. I said, and I knew for a few years just from working downtown, I'm like, Frankie, no, I don't have the educational background or even money. And she's like, no, I think you can do it. And then she said that. And 2 years later, the opportunity came again. And so I took over the store.
Wow. Mm-hmm. How did you get the capital to do that?
So
did you do a lot of loans, kind of?
First, my mom lent me money, of course. Mom is always there to help. And then, yes, I went through the Small Business Center through CTI. I got a microloan there. I got a loan through the city with LDFC eventually. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Wow. And how do you like running a store?
I'm only laughing because it is a journey. And I explain to a lot of people, owning a business is very, very hard. It's yes, I make my own hours. If I feel like I want to leave the store early and close early, sure, I can do all of that. But, you know, on the backhand of that, if I leave early, I might miss a big sale. You know, things like that. It's rewarding. It's you have to put everything into it. You cannot do it halfway. There's no way that's going to happen. You have to put more than 100% of you. And even when you clock out, whatever time I close, which is usually 5 or 6 o'clock right now, you know, I will go home. I'll try to decompress from everything, but I can't. I constantly have to send back emails that I forgot to do, or work on my website, think about my next collaboration with local artists, designers, where are we popping up next? How can I create more fun events at the store? What new things can I bring in to help our old customers still come support us? How much more can I be part of the community? All these things. And of course, always, how do I make the bottom line?
It's so hard to run a retail store now. I mean,
is.
Even the big ones are closing, like Sears.
Yes, I know.
Wow, but it's very impressive because you have been going now for, how long have you been?
For myself, 5 years, but Humanity
5
itself
years.
is 11 years.
Wow, that's great. So do you have a loyal clientele that comes back? And where do you get your clothes?
So for the clothes, I do a lot of ordering from from LA.
Okay.
LA or New York. And if I can't make it to LA or New York, I do it online, and they'll ship it to us.
Okay. So you're kind of getting small brands?
Yes, it's just indie brands. It's nothing mainstream or anything. It's just all indie. And over the years, there are a few brands, like the one I'm wearing is called Iris. I've ordered it for over 5 years because the material, the quality, everything's great. It fits most of our women really well. And you know, now they come in and they recognize that brand that we order, and they'll ask, are you getting anything from Iris soon? And it would blow my mind, because I would think, it's become like a brand in this store. You never think that, because it's consistency. I continue to order from the same company.
Yeah, so people know what to expect when they come in.
Yes, yep.
Yeah.
And as far as if we do have we have a lot of loyal customers, even from before I took over in 2014. And they are very, very supportive, very kind. I think the majority of them love coming in, not just to look at what we bring in, but to talk to us. And it's like girl time, you know?
Yeah. Do you work with local artists on your other things?
Artists such as designers,
or jewelry. I don't know. What else do you have in your store? I really don't know.
Oh, well, you'd have to come visit.
I do. Yeah.
So, yes, over the years I try to work with local artists and designers. Right now, I have a woman that makes bracelets. I will have an artisan soap maker coming shortly. I have a woman that has a rental dress business in the store, and she's been there for months. Yes.
Really?
Yep.
Huh. That seems to be the big thing, like rent the runway.
Oh
and
yeah, because let's be honest, who really has all that money to buy a fancy dress that's just going to sit in your closet forever? And especially if you're someone that's always going to galas or semi-formals, it's a great way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's expensive though.
It is.
Yeah. But it's less expensive than buying it, I guess.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's out of your sight once you return. It's like, okay, so I spent like $50 renting, which is great, and I don't have to see it again.
Yeah. And how do you see the development of Lowell? Do you think it's going in a good direction?
I think it's going in a great direction. I know with all the new construction, I believe, I personally, just my own opinion, I think 5 years or so, the city's going to completely transform. The look, everything, we know this. And retail, it is hard. It is hard having a retail. There's only a few other retail clothing stores in downtown. And that's why, slowly I've tried to do pop-up shops in my store featuring other women entrepreneurs, whether it's clothes or soaps or bracelets, things like that. Because if we have like at least one business for now that can help start up other women entrepreneurs and kind of show them, okay, so this is what we've been doing. Let us try to help you get on your way. I think more people would feel confident to open up a retail. And there are other great organizations in Lowell, E for All, the Small Business Center, which I think is called Entrepreneurship Center now. They help with a lot of entrepreneurs, and they try to, and of course the Economic Development Department of Lowell too. They're all trying to get more retail in downtown. The more retail we have, the more people will stay, not just come to eat and drink or come look at the national park. They're all great, but if there was more retail, there'd be a reason like, okay, let me spend a few more hours in Lowell.
Yeah. It's so hard because so many people are buying online.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, and so that was the direction I knew I needed to do. I needed to have an online shopping presence.
Yeah.
And we just started that a few months ago. But then I realized it is just as much work as owning a brick and mortar store. It needs another 100% of my attention, and I'm just, again, me. But I do have a great assistant that helped me and other people that helps. But it's you're pulled in so many directions. And then I do get asked the question, what if you're very successful online, would you close the store? I don't want to. I mean, every business owner wants their business to sustain itself. And so hopefully with online, it'll help with that. And I don't want to close my brick and mortar, but I'm open to any possibilities at this point.
Yeah. Oh, very good. And what are your dreams for the future, and where do you see yourself going besides the store?
Okay.
Are you, staying in Lowell, I assume, but I don't know.
I've been such a part of this. I grew up here, but I've never been in sort of the downtown community up until over 5 years ago. And I don't have plans on leaving because I feel like like all of us, we're a fabric of this city, and I'm a part of that. And I think I have more hopes for the city. Maybe a dream if I'm able to get a huge space and be able to have more retail inside these spaces or mix and match businesses to integrate with each other. That would be great. I would love to step away from the business and hire my assistant full time, because this is also her dream, to have a boutique. I would love to step away and maybe do more consulting or travel more for the business, such as buying for the store.
I guess you are kind of a prisoner in your store.
That Wendy, that I have never heard that before, but that is exactly what it is. And just because I'm there day in and day out, sometimes you lose sight of why you're doing this, because you're just like, okay, I need to make the money. Oh my gosh, rent is coming up. Or when am I going to be able to pay myself? Things like that. And then, I always have to remind myself, go away somewhere for one night. Go get away from Lowell. Go do something fun. Don't think about anything. So that helps. I just recently went to Rhode Island, Providence a few days ago. I haven't been there in 7 years. It's crazy when you think all these years pass and you don't go to somewhere that's like an hour away from you.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I don't know.
That is
I
a
hope.
tough life.
I mean, it is really hard. I'm also very fortunate. I don't have a family yet. I don't have children that would pull me away even more, and I would be even more conflicted. But even now with trying to balance or having a healthier balance of both worlds and everything, I don't know if it would ever be achievable, but I think I can make decisions where things that can make me happy. You know, say for instance, like if there's a day if there's something going on in Boston or somewhere, even in Lowell, and I really just want to go, right now I have no problem with just saying, you know what, I'm going to close at 3 because I need to do this for me too. And my face needs to be out there as well, and I need to continue to nurture myself, and then I'll come back to the store feeling refreshed and everything.
And I suppose having a website, the web presence kind of is a little bit of a buffer, because
Yes.
while you're not at your store, people can still be buying or...
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
That is the dream. That is the dream where I'm at home sleeping at 9 o'clock and I'll have 10 sales and I'll say, oh, great. Yeah. I'm not even open right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it allows you to expand too without having... Well,
It does.
if you have a web presence and you're selling clothes from a certain line, do you have to have those clothes with you, or you just, when you get an order, you just go to the wholesaler and buy it, right? So you don't need to store anything.
So for right now, the inventory in the store would be the same inventory as online. Although most of what's in the store is not online yet, because I need more time to do that. But you know, as we grow, who knows? Who knows what'll happen?
Yeah. Well, and I think it might be that the younger generation will get tired of online and want to actually establish relationships with people in their community and go to a place and try something on. And
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I'm glad you brought that up, because even though everything is going online right now, just being able to connect with another human being, walking into the store and getting to know the store, getting to know the city, getting to know everything. That's why I don't want to, I don't have plans on closing the store. I would love to do both, of course, you know, and it's important to not take that away, because a lot of our customers, they're very excited that we have online, but even they say, well, we'll still come visit because we still want to come see you guys.
Yeah. I think the thing is, we never know what direction things are going to go in, and we think this is the way it's going to be, and the trend now is going to be forever, but that's not always necessarily true.
Yes, it's parts of the trend, and other part is how do you want to represent your store. And even with that, you know, I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? Focus more on the store today or focus more online? Do both. You know, it's just...
Yeah, you can only do what you can do.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, Annie, thank you so much for coming in. That was so interesting.
Thank you for having me.
I can't wait to go into Humanity and try on some of those iris clothes.
Yes, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Hello Neighbor. We'll see you soon.
You know,